It's time to revolutionize healthcare. Are you ready? FABRX's 3D printing technology is paving the way for a new personalized medicine era. Say hello to customized medicines that are perfectly tailored to your unique needs, improving efficacy and safety. Medicines will come in personalized shapes, textures, and flavors, making the experience enjoyable and hassle-free. Imagine simplifying your daily routine by combining multiple medicines into one easy-to-take tablet. With 3D printing, all of this is possible. And at FABRX, we are dedicated to bringing this vision to life. We fully automate personalized medicine preparation to improve safety, reduce costs, and reduce the environmental impact of healthcare. To learn more about FABRX and the future of medicine, contact us today.
So thank you for joining the webinar on advancing personalization in medicine through 3D printing. My name is Anna Worsley, and I'm the Director of Innovation at FABRX and CEO of FABRX AI, and I'll be hosting today's session. We have two great talks today focusing on implementation of pharmaceutical 3D printing in hospital and community pharmacies. Celia Orive joins us from her community pharmacy in Madrid, and Maxime Annereau joins us from Gustave Roussy Institute in Paris, Europe's top oncology hospital. Following the presentations, we will also have some time for Q&A, and we'll also have Professor Alvaro Goyanes joining us today, co-founder of FABRX, joining the panel. So Celia will be starting off, and I'll just go through her bio. So Celia Orive holds a master's in clinical trials, monitoring and management, and a degree in pharmacy, both completed in Madrid. She also completed her scientific placement at UCL School of Pharmacy with over 10 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry. Celia specialized in phase 1 oncology clinical trials before transitioning to work at her family-owned pharmacy, Farmacia Angel Orive Meyer. Thank you, Celia. You can now take over.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Celia, as Anna has introduced to me. I'm going to present the work we have done at Pharmacia Orive, where we are specialized in compounding, providing personalized treatments tailored to our patients' needs. We have collaborated with FABRX to implement the use of a Medimaker pharmaceutical 3D printer to autofill minoxidil capsules for dispensing to patients in our community pharmacy. So I'm a pharmacist, and for the past 10 years, as Anna has commented, I've worked in the pharmaceutical industry, but last year I decided to switch my professional career and join our family-run community pharmacy. Our pharmacy is located in Madrid, Spain, and my father was who pays on to me his patient for compounding. Every day we prepare and dispense a range of personalized treatments for our patients, being the minoxidil capsules for the alopecia treatment, probably the most demanded treatment at the moment. As you may know, compounding involves preparing treatments that are not commercially available, adapting them to patients' requirements. However, this process comes with different challenges. It is a labor-intensive and time-consuming process, as a pharmacist needs to be present during the entire workflow. Even if we are detail-oriented and follow all the quality and security protocols, there is a high risk of human errors. Moreover, operators are exposed to inhale fine powders or get them in contact with the skin. Also, repetitive movements are required, increasing all of this the risk to suffer different disorders. Quality control requirements are mostly manual and visual, which compromises their reliability. By automating our compounding process with the Medimaker 3D printer, we have seen significant improvements compared to the conventional compounding workflows. Workload and time have been reduced, directly decreasing production cost and allowing the pharmacists to attend other tasks. And also by reducing health dangers, since operators are no longer exposed to these fine powders. Additionally, since the printer is a closed environment, cross-contamination is also avoided. It ensures traceability maintenance, as we will see in the following slides, and indirect costs could also be reduced in the long term, since the risk of human errors has been decreased, as the printer also includes automated quality control systems, minimizing the need for supplementary post-production quality checks. Let's go now through a summary of the automation stage involved in the process that we have classified in 3 steps, and we are going to see in detail. The first one will be the preparation and identification of the minoxidil pharmaines. The pharmaines, which consist of a mixture of drugs and excipients, were previously prepared following a SOP designed for its implementation in a compounding pharmacy or a community pharmacy. The pharmaines were then transferred into disposable syringes, as we can see in the photo. Another positive point is that the same pharmaine can be used to prepare multiple doses, as the 3D printer controls the amount extracted to achieve the desired dose. Another benefit that we have discussed in the previous slides is that the traceability is now fully ensured, improving accountability and patient safety. Why we say that? Because the prepared pharmaines are identified with a QR code, which is scanned by a QR reader connected to the Medimaker software. This security feature can record critical information regarding the preparation of the pharmaines, such as the operator, date and time of preparation, and also its qualitative and quantitative composition. The printer will read this QR code and automatically will load the printing protocol. The second step will be, the second steps will be the automated preparation of the minoxidil capsules. The capsules were prepared following a medical prescription regarding the dosage and the number of capsules. The pharmaceutical 3D printer is equipped with a semi-solid extrusion printhead with a pressure sensor, an integrated balance, and also the capsule holder. Everything is used for the filing process. The printer is controlled by the Medimaker Studio software configured with the printing parameters. The desired capsule dose is also selected, that we can see in the top of the slide. In addition, inline quality control of its capsule is automatically carried out using the software, with integrated balance and the pressure sensor. Mass uniformity can be assessed as the weight of its capsule's content is recorded after filling. The software uses a color code system to indicate the capsule's weight. If the weight is within the acceptable 10% deviation from the target, it is shown in green. If it will be outside this limit, it will be displayed in red. The system aligns with the deviations requirements of the European Pharmacopoeia. Although this was the selected limit in our case due to the characteristics of our capsules, the software allows to set more restrictive limits if necessary and can be set depending on the requirements of the individual pharmacy or the local regulations. This mass control in line permits the detection of capsules that met or failed the established standards, enhancing then the safety of compounding medicines while reducing the pharmacy's workload. The dispensation to patients, that is the last step, was performed according to the local regulations. For the study, a 3-month treatment was prepared for 9 patients who received either 90 or 100 capsules of different doses, depending on their medical prescriptions. Only one operator was required, and the operator had to be physically present only half of the process, allowing the pharmacist to attend other important duties. Also, a single blend was necessary to prepare different doses of various patients. With a manual method, in contrast, a blend needs to be prepared for each patient prescription. Finally, a time cost analysis was conducted comparing the automated versus the conventional method. Manual compounded required significant active involvement, not including the quality control time. In contrast, the automated compounded with the Medimaker system reduced total treatment preparation by 10% and reduced active time by 55%, while also incorporating this quality control analysis. This time reductions leads to greater cost efficiency as it minimizes the pharmacy's involvement in the process. In addition to adjusting the dose, it can also customize the shape, size, color, flavor of the medication, making dosing and administration easier. This is especially useful for drugs with narrow therapeutic index or for pediatrics or geriatric populations. At our pharmacy that we aim to innovate and improve patient safety, automation has greatly improved the efficiency of our compounding process. At the same time, it improves the quality and consistency of our treatments. To conclude, in my opinion, this could mark the beginning of a new era in healthcare, where technology and pharmacy come together to improve the quality life of millions of people. Thank you all for your time and attention, and if anyone has any questions, we will be happy to answer them together with the FABRX team at the end of the webinar.
Thank you, Celia. That was really interesting. So if anyone wants to read about that study in more detail, the publication is actually, it was published this week, and so you can reach that using the QR code on the screen right now. So I'll just give you a few seconds to scan that if you want. Great. So next up, we have Maxime Annereau discussing his work at Gustave Roussy. Maxime has been a hospital pharmacist at Gustave Roussy since 2013, specializing in pediatric oncology and hematology. A former Paris hospital intern, he earned his master's in oncology in 2010 and is now completing his PhD at the Université Paris-Saclay. He contributed to establishing a translational unit that innovative Goyanes forms, including developing a pediatric formulation for temozolomide, which launched on the European market in collaboration with a startup company. Since 2020, Maxime has led Gustave Roussy's Goyanes and Analytical Research Unit, addressing unmet needs in the pharmaceutical industry and advancing innovative projects. In 2024, he co-founded the Pharma 3D PI to promote 3D printed medicines. Thank you, Maxime. You can now control the slides.
Thanks a lot, Anna. Thanks, Celia, for this very well introductions of the meeting just before. So we will talk about 3D printings today with some examples that we have realized on Gustave Roussy. But first, why do we do still some compound in 2025? Because as many of you should know that we suffer for a lot of shortage. We have very often unsuitable dosage for the pediatric populations, but many more also for the geriatric populations. And for these two kinds of population, even if the dosage is not adapted, you have also the problem to have some unsuitable galenic forms. It means that if you try to give caps for young children, you need to open it, you need to degrade it. If you try to give some tablets, it's not feasible. So you need to have some form which are adapted, and it's also the same for geriatric population. We have a specificity inside our institute. We need to develop some drugs for rare disease, and we do some drug repurposing also. So we need to have a tool which is versatile and can answer to these challenges. So first, another case is one of the main problem is the treatment compliance. The compliance of the treatment is the reason why we do compound. So the reason to have a failure of the compliance of the treatment is multifactorial, and one of the main problems, if we call about the sphere of oncology, is the fear of side effects. If you could propose a treatment adapted to each patient, you will reduce the side effects because the doses will be adapted to each patient, and you will have a better adherence to the treatment. You have also the fact that today patients with cancer have very long time treatment, and they are very often cured or in a relapse when you give the treatment, and they have the side effect. So you need to understand that and to try to give them the less side effect to be sure that you can do that. That's the reason that we do some compounds. In France, 10 years ago, there was a study which showed that 9 billion euros were additional cost from the budget of the consumption of drugs just to the cause to have very bad compliance. It's a very huge change. So what are our needs? On Gustave Roussy, we have the challenges to have some pediatrics and geriatrics populations with the fear of compliance, which is very crucial in oncology field. We have the need to formulate new medicine, as I said before. We have the same problem as everywhere with human research issues, and we need to find a way to optimize our process. We could also have some new drugs where we need to have some personalized release profile to increase the adherence to treatment. And we have this shortage for those drugs. That's why we go to work 4 years ago, 3.5 years, to go for 3D printings, to have something which can be more precise than what we have done before on caps compounding, on solutions compounding, more versatile. As you can see on the picture, if you want to try to give a syrup to very young children with a tumor, it's very complicated instead of a neurodispersible film. And it's better to give a better answer to our patients' needs. So just now some example of what we do and what are the process that we do. When we discuss to our physicians, what is your main need if we could improve something, they said in pediatric field, they said, can you do something for the sulfamethoxazole and trimethoprim problem? It's some antibiotics which are used to prevent the risk of neutropenia, because the tablets are too big and the suspension has a very, very bad taste. It's really awful to take it. So there is no adherence to the treatment. You have some infection for the patient, there is some delay for the treatment, and you have some risk of relapse. So one of our students took the challenge to do something, and he has developed a bilayer and a monolayer gummies chewable tablet of sulfamethoxazole and trimethoprim, which goes to 400 milligrams. And to answer it, as it was presented by Celia before, we need at the beginning to develop all the pharma ink by ourselves because there is nothing on the commercial way. So we make some collaboration with FABRX and also with the Université of Pharmacy of Paris-Saclay, where I work also, to propose and to characterize a good formulation with a good stability, good physical, rheological parameters to be ensured to be, when you want to print it, it's today, it will be in 2 months, it will be in 6 months. You can print with the same parameter on the printer, everything, and everything stays stable on the physical and chemical way. We had the first feedback for the patients under compounding regulation, which says what you have done is better, far better, but you can improve the texture. And can you do some gummies? Because at the beginning it was 200 milligrams. Can you do some gummies at 400 milligrams? So it was quite a challenge to do that. Here you have the picture of the printer. It's a quite different one that Celia has presented. It's a Medimaker 2. So you have 3 different nozzles that you can combine together. And you can choose inside the way of process different doses. In green, it was gummies at 100 milligrams, in blue, 200 milligrams, and in orange, 400 milligrams. So inside the same batches, you can customize the doses. And you have the blueprint of the gummies that we have done in monolayer and bilayer. So we split sulfamethoxazole and trimethoprim because from the feedback we had from the patients, when we split it, the test was quite better for the patients because there is no colocalization of the 2 drugs in the mouth. And we have improved what we have done to try to do one specific specialty of Paris. It's a macaron. You have, in fact, we just make the color that you can see it, just to make the trimethoprim inside 2 sulfamethoxazole layer. And when we print it like that, the test masking is better because the one which is the bad test is inside. You have less contact and it can improve the taste. Now today we use it in daily practice inside our hospital. We have a good feedback now. We can still improve it, but it's far better. And now it will be used also in 2 other pediatric hospitals in Paris till next week. Another way to use 3D printing is for another project in pediatry also to go for cyclophosphamide. Cyclophosphamide is a very old drug, alkyl 1, used in many cancers in pediatrics. From 1 milligrams per kilo to 25 milligrams per meter squares. So it means that the doses are quite huge that you need to cover. So for that, we do some caps depending on the institute. So another one makes some solutions. But the problem is with all drug suffers some hydrolysis. So when you want to do a solution to adapt the doses, the stability is very low, between 14 days to 1 month. And the patients need to come back every month to the hospital. So it's not great for the quality of life. So we try the challenge to propose something with the same ink, try to have something which can be soluble or chewable. And with the help of different teams, we have something which now can be printed in a monolayer way from very small square of 0.8 centimeters to 0.8 centimeters, which allow us to make some doses up to 15 milligrams. So it covers the patients till 3 years around. And if we want to make something chewable, we can make it by different layer, play by the blueprint, and to have something which can be more chewable like the one that I presented you just before. The interest is that this form is very, very soluble, less than 3 minutes when you put it inside a small volume of water. And we try to decrease last week to 5 milliliters of water, and it's also works. So from very, very young people, it can also be used, and very fast dissolution process, so it can be used in daily practice. So we will launch it in daily life in May, just to have 1 year of stability data for this formulation, like that it can be used in different hospitals if they are ready to print. Another project is to try to personalize the doses, but also for adult patients, because adherence to the treatment is not only a problem of pediatrics or geriatrics, but it's also a problem for patients which suffer maybe a breast cancer. In case of breast cancer, you have a treatment of hormonotherapy, tamoxifen, which leads to hot flushes for the patient or musculoskeletal trouble for the patients. And these troubles lead to non-adherence to the treatment. So we do with Alvaro and FABRX before to try to put inside the same caps the gel of tamoxifen, so quite the same preparation like Celia presented to you before, with tamoxifen gel inside, and to combine it with some micropellets with duloxetine and venlafaxine to personalize the doses of tamoxifen and duloxetine, and to propose it, to submit it to the French drug agency to be registered at the clinical trial. So just to say that 3D printing can also be used inside clinical trial. There is 2 ways to go for it. You have all the characterizations, which is not accessible to each center, but it's not so difficult to make some partnership, just to make all the characterization by DSC, XPRD, screening of impurities. This is quite difficult, but it's accessible to all the university. And in daily practice, like Celia said before, we do some mass uniformity study, and also we have our own lab, so we do all the content uniformity by ourselves. But with the manufacturing ink, bulk control, with the dosage inside syringe, printing, printlet control, packaging and labeling, everything was accepted by the French drug agency to launch for the clinical trial. So what have we done? We have increased the adherence to the treatment of tamoxifen by reducing the side effects, and it's not a very, very complicated program. The pharma ink in this case was made by polyethylene glycol 4000, 70%, and tamoxifen citrate 30%, just to prepare ink, to condition it inside syringe, to print it by semi-solid extrusion inside the caps. So a first row of the printing go to deposit in each caps the tamoxifen, and after a few seconds it's solidified, and just after that we make the deposit of the micropellets, and we can personalize the doses from 10 milligrams to 40 milligrams of tamoxifen depending on the need of the patients, and we can also personalize the doses of duloxetine, venlafaxine, or the placebo for the clinical trial. We will launch the first part of the clinical trial at the end of this year for doing the pharmacokinetics part, which was asked by the authorities before to treat all the patients. How do I see the next step for 3D printing? There is some things that need to be improved, but we worked on it from the beginning. I worked on it on 3D printing 3 years ago, and today it's quite a huge difference, and it's progressed very, very fast. The improvement of the software which has been done allows us not to facilitate the drug association as I present to you. 3 months ago, it was not feasible to have this association automatically made by the software. Now it can be used, so it's quite good. And we have some program where we want to make some association of antiemetics and anti-cancerous drugs to improve the quality of life of the patients. Next step is to improve the cartridge filling. We plan to have something which could help us at the beginning of March. And we are working with the pharma group that we have launched, Pharma 3DPI, to try to improve the access to the raw material or to the cartridge with the help of the French Drug Agency, with the EMA, where we have many discussions with them to try to improve that. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I'm here to answer to your question.
Thank you very much, Maxime, for that presentation. It's really exciting to hear your updates. And so if anyone wants to read the first OPERA trial publication, the QR code is up now, and that was for the setup. So I'll leave the slide up for a few seconds while everyone gets their phones out. So a few minutes time, we'll start our questions and answering round. So if you want to put in your questions in the question section, we can get through as many as we can today. Great, so we'll start with the questions. So the first question I have is for Alvaro. Do you think the 3D pharmaceutical industry will be expanding to a scalable level in the next 5 to 10 years?
Hi everyone. So that's a good question. This is what we are trying. We started doing 3D printing more than 10 years ago, and 10 years ago people were saying, you are not going to be able to print in a hospital. Then we managed to print in a hospital, give medication to patients, and they were saying, you are not going to be able to print in a pharmacy. We are printing regularly in pharmacies, as Celia showed. And now people are saying, but you are not going to be able to scale this pharma ink manufacture and make this a reality. So the new regulation in the UK is changing to make possible 3D printing using this centralized control site that is controlling different manufacturing facilities that could be hospitals. The new regulation is changing in Europe. There are more growing interest in pharmaceutical companies to jump into 3D printing. And I know Maxime, because we were discussing before, he has a lot of contacts making this a reality to have pharma inks that can be manufactured in hospitals or in pharmaceutical companies, and then the final step printed in hospitals or pharmacies. So maybe Maxime, if you want to add something else. For me, I think there is future with that. And Maxime, one of the leading hospitals in 3D printing, maybe you can expand more.
Yeah, in fact, we plan to give the access to some partner that we have in France to the ink that we have prepared. It's one of the things that we think it could be feasible. The student we have developed, the Supermax in 2-meter frame one is placed in Grenoble in France, and we plan to sell them the cartridge that they could print it because under the compound regulation, as Alvaro said. But we really hope that we could have some regulations, and we are working on it with the EMA and different countries that allow some new players to go to this field. So today it's under compound regulation, like Celia and I do. Even one is in community pharmacies, the other one is hospital pharmacy. We have some possibilities to do it, but we have the same disease in France and in Belgium. Some patients are treated into 2 patients. I cannot sell today to the Belgian team because it's not the same regulation. It's a trouble. So we need to make it to make this problem to work and to go for it. So we will work with the EMA, and we have a great hope that in the new regulation in 2 years, we can do something very cool. And the pharma industry is here, also waiting that this new regulation on the point of care open, because there is a huge need. There are some treatments, because the manufacturing of the treatments is too high. They decide to not develop drugs to treat some patients because it costs them too many money. But if we could have the raw material to print on site, we could treat the patient. So it's a risk sharing, new way to make some business. It will open something very new.
Great, thank you, Maxime and Alvaro, for that. So the next one is also for Alvaro, but maybe could be answered by Maxime and Celia as well if you wanted to come in. So is the accuracy of 3D printing when doing it regularly the same on par with conventional medicines?
Well, this is what we aim, obviously. If we are thinking about 3D printing first as a method to automate compounding, like we were showing in the study with Celia in the pharmacy, we want the medicines to be better than the conventional compounding. So for us, the variability should be less than 10%. That's the maximum, but ideally is less than 5%. We are able to get that. And if we get a tablet that is outside the specifications, since the system incorporates a balance, it's possible to identify the tablet or the capsule that we fill or the blister that we fill, remove that and identify it and solve the problem. Maybe Maxime, you prepare a high number of formulations, pharma ink. I don't know everything that you are preparing in the hospital, but you can explain if this is an issue or there are ways to solve it, or it's better than the conventional way.
It's better, yeah. In fact, for the gummies that I present to you, we have a deviation. The gummies made around 1 gram, and we have a deviation of 20 milligrams at the end of the total weight of the gummies. So it means that we have only 2% of the weight deviation from different gummies. So it's very, very low. So as Alvaro said, it's quite precise. It will depend, in fact, of each ink on each printing parameters. So today, because there is no ink on the market, it will depend on what you have developed and the way that you will print it. But if you try to improve it and to work on the printing parameters and also on your ink on the space in a radiological parameter where you define it works perfectly, you could have something which is very, very reproducible and very well used in daily practice.
Great, thank you for that. The next question is also for you, Maxime. What quality assurance protocols do you adopt in the hospital for 3D printed pharmaceutical dosage forms?
We do not change our quality protocol. In fact, we work under qualification of process many often for all the compound that we have developed, because 3D printing is only a part of what we do, and we choose 3D printing when it's totally adapted. We don't do 3D printing for all the compound we developed for each cases for the patients. It's when it's the most adapted chunks. So we do as the same that we do for a suspension of a solution. It means that we will do all the dissolution tests on our site. We will do our stability data that we will generate it for it. And we will do some force degradation studies for all the products that we have developed. The only thing that it changed is that we want to have the ink that could be printed when it's needed. And for that, you need to include a new test that is the rheological parameter to be sure that your ink will have the same compartment or can be printed. Even this compartment is quite different. It's a little bit different at the end, but it can be printed with the same parameter on the printer. It's the only thing that we add and we try to develop for each project.
Great, thank you very much for that. So the next one is for Celia, but like with the other questions, Maxime and Alvaro, if you want to jump in, this could be for either of you as well. So what is the minimum possible dose or volume, and what is the precision at such level? This person absolutely understands that it will depend on the characteristics of the materials, but if you can give some examples, that would be great. Thanks.
Well, I think Alvaro can better explain this question, but it will be depending of the principal actives you are using, and also the balance you are using depending of the precision of the balance that is integrated in a printer that can be changed depending of the medications to be prepared.
Yeah, so obviously the doses depend on the pharma ink. For example, I think, Celia, in this study, you were printing 2 different doses or a range of doses from 5 to 10 milligrams. I don't remember.
Yes, we prepared 2 different doses that were 2.5 milligrams and 5 milligrams. But it can be set depending of I mean, what you need to prepare depending of the precision of the balance.
So basically, you can, with a pharma ink, you can print a wide range of doses. In this case, I remember, I think we printed 1 milligram, but was not included in the study, from 1 milligram to 5 milligrams. So whatever dose is in the middle is possible to print with the same pharma ink. And then you just need to set up the software to be able to print that. In this case, because most of the prescriptions in your pharmacy, Celia, were 2.5 and 5 milligrams, we just selected those doses, but you could go for any dose in the middle. The other thing that I think is important and relevant is that we need to educate and somehow train prescribers, the GPs and medical doctors, that to know that now it's possible to prescribe something that is not 5 milligrams, could be 3.6 milligrams or 1.7. That is not the traditional way they prescribe. Normally they select 2.5, 5, specific numbers, round numbers. With 3D printing, you can get any dose. Obviously, in a pharmacy, you need to prepare what medical doctors prescribe, and these are the prescriptions that Celia got that day, and we included in the study. Maxime, I think you are more in contact with medical doctors, and they know that you have a 3D printer there. So you are in close collaboration with the medical doctors, and you get different doses, I guess.
Yeah, in fact, it depends on the range of your calibration, as Alvaro said. For cyclophosphamide, we made the calibration between 10 to 45 milligrams, and we have a space of 1 milligrams with a good reproducibility, so 1 to 1.5. So it means that you could have something which is very, very near to what you could have inside the solutions. Because for me, 3D printing has the advantage of an oral form. You can play with the doses like you have from your concentration from your oral form, with the advantage of the solid form, which is easy to take and also to transport without, and with also a better stability than the one that you could have with a solution.
Great, thank you very much for that. So the next question is for Alvaro and Celia regarding the project with minoxidil. So from a technical and legislative point of view, is the filling method compliant with the pharmacopoeia criteria, considering that it's a capsule filling machine that you're using a 3D printer as?
Well, I think that the pharmacopoeia does not specify the method for filling the capsules. It falls within the pharmacist and professional judgment. In this case, we use this an automated process to fill the capsules, because the prescribers prescribes capsules, and we don't have the option to change this the pharmaceutical form.
Yeah, so this was critical for the study, because at the beginning we were exploring options of making gummy formulations, chewable formulations, but like Maxime is showing. But the reality in a pharmacy is that most of the prescriptions pharmacists receive in a pharmacy are for something that is very well known, capsules. We could prepare capsules using a 3D printer with the shape and everything, but that takes time. It's not so efficient. So we move into capsule filling, because we just have the capsules, and instead of filling them with powder, we fill them with other materials that are GRAS approved, so are approved for use in humans, are commercialized by the same companies that provide the materials to pharmacies. And obviously, before starting all these studies and give it to people, we perform all the protocols in vitro, check that there is no degradation, that everything is safe. And from a regulatory point of view, we made written consultations to the authorities in Spain, and to check if that was legal or not legal. So this is perfectly legal, goes through compounding. As Celia mentioned, we comply with the pharmacopoeia requirements. And also, Maxime is in contact with the French authorities. He is meeting them almost every day, no? not every day, but quite often. We are in contact with the MHRA authorities, with the FDA in the US as well. We are in the Emerging Technology Program. We are contacting all the regulatory authorities because obviously we want to make medicines safer. So we are not taking any risk or thinking like, well, we are not sure if this is legal. This is clearly legal.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. And the next question actually is for you, Maxime, and follows quite well to that. Considering regulation of the 3D printed product, is the pharma ink made in the hospital considered a new product?
In fact, yes and no. Because we have the compounding regulation in each country, so it's just to sell an intermediate like a suspension or like a semi-solid. If we talk about regulation, if we can be stupid like a regulation, I would say you can apply the regulation of a semi-solid, because at the end, if we go for semi-solid extrusion that we used, Celia or me, it's a semi-solid in definition by the pharmacopoeia and the regulation. So we can play with that. But after discussion with the French Drug Agency and the EMA, for them, 3D printing is just a tool, a way to produce. But what you produce at the end should follow the pharmacopoeia. So when we discuss with different hospitals on where we want to sell them the ink is like when I sell some suspension that we are the only one to make it in Europe for different cancer. We sell a suspension, but at the end, they will take only some small dosage adapted to what the patients need, but it's made inside the hospital. So they take a small amount to do it. When you take a printer, you will take a small amount of the cartridge to do the doses that you want to do. So it's exactly the same. So there is no trouble from the regulation to do it, because it's well in France, in fact, it's well described under the new regulation, and we can do it. There is a status of intermediate product, which is totally made to do this kind of formulation.
Great, thank you. I've got some more questions for you now, Maxime, as well. So for your different formulations, your different pharma ink, how did you choose the polymer choice? How did you choose your polymers? And did you carry out a feasibility study for every single preparation?
Yeah. We do some feasibility study for the preparation. We define that there is no risk of interaction between the excipient and the drug. But how do we define the formulation and the choice of the excipient? We were just discussing before the meeting with Alvaro about to try to develop some ink or thing like that, because today, because there is nothing on the ink, you need to develop for each product, in fact, ink which is compatible from the strength of the product that you want to develop with the good properties of what you want. So, in fact, it's trial and errors that we do every time. We have a good basis. We know that it should work, but sometimes you have some drugs which react with the excipient, because if we go for the bacterium one, we tried to do some cyclophosphamide inside the same basis. It was quite a mess. So it's more trial and errors, and depending on where we want to go. Now today, we have some 3 or 4 bases of formulation. We know that if we want to have something which goes to fast dissolutions, we should go for this kind of formulation. If we have something which is more chewable with high doses, this formulation could be better. If we want to go for something which could have a prolonged release, we should go for this kind of excipient. But today, it's just to test the compatibility of the excipient with the drug. And after that, to go for trials and error, just to have something which is reproducible and to obtain what you want.
Thank you. And a question that feeds into that. Sorry, Alvaro?
No, if I can add something into that. Obviously, Gustave Roussy is the flagship hospital for cancer in Europe, and you have resources to develop your own formulations. We don't know what you develop, and whenever you talk, I'm surprised, oh, you were able to do that. This probably is not the case for pharmacies like Celia. So Celia doesn't have a HPLC, a dissolution test, or all the methods that are required to prove that the formulation is safe. So Maxime have all of that and is collaborating with the universities. But pharmacies, conventional pharmacies, they don't have that. So FABRX as a company, what we do is to share protocols that we know work for pharmacies. So following the same protocol, you can print specific drugs that we tested. And if you want to print a drug that was not tested, is something that we are able to develop as a FABRX as a company or in collaboration with other hospitals that we know are developing. So what we do as well in the software is to be able to share protocols. And what we are suggesting and implementing is that different hospitals, different universities are able to share protocols that can be implemented. Maxime and other people from the 3D printing space, we created the pharmaceutical 3D printing initiative that Anna mentioned. Maxime is one of the directors. I'm also one of the directors. And the aim is to bring people from academia, from industry, from regulation, and also from pharmacies and hospitals together to develop the field. So we know that people in universities, they have access to HPLCs and all the equipment to make very good formulations, but many of these formulations are not going to reach the patients at all. And on the other side, there are hospitals that have a lot of patients, a lot of needs, requirements, but they don't have the knowledge and experience to develop formulations. So bringing these people together with our support, I think is key to move this forward.
Thank you. That does answer my next question, actually, which is, do we have a catalog?
I can add something also to what Alvaro has said.
Please go on.
Also, the control requirements at a compounding community pharmacy, they are not strict. For example, the controls for the minoxidil capsules that we prepare are only manual and visual. We don't need, for the study, all of these have been performed. So we ensure, for example, we have studied the stability in 3 months, and nobody in a compounding pharmacy has the ability to study the stability of 3 months of the prepared capsules. So they are studied, studied blends, and it ensures the safety of the preparation you are doing better than the one we prepare at the compounding pharmacy.
Thank you, Celia. So just to finish that quickly, if you do want to have access to formulations, we do have a catalogue, and just give us drop us an email, and we can send we can tell you more about which ones we have available. So our next question is for you, Celia, actually. So did you face regulatory resistance for your project to incorporate 3D printing, and how was it handled?
Well, as Alvaro has informed, we have requested to the Spanish regulations if we could use the printer at dates. In fact, we asked to the Colegio de Farmacéuticos here in Madrid, that is this Madrid, the city, I don't know how it says that, how will you explain, Alvaro? I don't know how to say. It's like a group of pharmacies.
Yeah, it's the body for the region of Madrid controlling the pharmacy, no? The pharmacy
so
practice.
We asked them if we could use the printer to perform these capsules, and they were very keen on it, and they were aiming us to use it as this innovation.
Great, thank you. And then the next question is for you, Celia, again. So how do you prevent cross-contamination? And please, can you help our viewers understand the cleaning process?
I'm not mute. So the printer is a closed environment, and the blend we use is liquid, and then it solidifies inside the capsule. So in contrast with the manual method, when you prepare the capsules, everything is surrounded by powder, even the surface and everything. And with the automated control with this blend that solidifies inside the capsules, you avoid all of this. And also the printer is a closed environment. You close it during the preparation. So you will avoid all kind of contaminations instead of being at the lab that is open, the capsules, and people is walking around, because you don't need any sterilization requirements to prepare the capsules, just the normal ones, the current ones in a normal lab. Also, the cleaning protocol is so easy. You just need to use alcohol solution. And in fact, in the study, it was also revised. Samples were taken from different parts of the printer, and there was no rest of minoxidil after the cleaning process.
Thank you. So the next one is for Alvaro. Can the Medimaker be fitted with an FTIR probe, and what is the throughput of 3D printing?
Yeah, I think for setting different quality control equipment inside the printer, that's possible. Right now, we've done tests, obviously, with the balance that we were using in the study. With Maxime, we did a test with the NIR, spectroscopic method, near infrared, and also with Raman. I think a publication is going to be out soon. With the FTIR, we never tried, but I think the closest one could be the NIR, that could work. We have other projects to test with different technologies, pressure sensors, camera vision. So whatever can add a layer of security or safety I think can be implemented. We are modifying the software to the needs of the users, so we can implement whatever we want. That's not a problem. Regarding the throughput, well, you saw in Maxime video the 3D printing process. 3D printing goes layer by layer. It sometimes take like between 1 to 3 minutes to print one single tablet. Could go a bit faster. For example, with 3D printing in a hospital, these chewable tablets, we printed 28 tablets in 10 minutes, the treatment for 1 month in 10 minutes. If we do capsule filling, that's go faster. We can fill the capsules. I think it takes like 3 seconds per capsule, so you can print 100 capsules in less than 10 minutes probably. Obviously, if you have the balance incorporated, you need some additional seconds to get the readings of the balance. So it depends. Sometimes people don't use the balance and just print, or if you have the balance, it takes a bit longer. And through the capsules, it's possible to use NIR and check inside the capsules as well. So yeah, I think I replied the questions.
Thank you. Yes. So this might be, we've only got time for 1 or 2 more questions now. So Celia and Maxime, this one's for both of you. One of the challenges in personalized drug treatment using 3D printing is the stage of preparing the formulation that will be printed into the final dosage form. How did you work around that, especially regarding the safety, cross-contamination, and formulation stability?
I think for cross-contamination, like Celia said before, the risk of cross-contamination is quite low during the printing process, because as you have seen, all the parts which are in contact with the part of printing are chewable. You have the syringe. After you have finished to print, you can reuse it, it's not finished, or you can throw it. You don't have any contamination. In our case, we print not directly on the glass, but directly on some kind of specific plastic paper, which go also to the waste after being used. So you don't have any risk to have any contamination for this step. For this case of stability, it depends. Like Alvaro said, I have the chance to work inside an hospital, and inside our department, as somebody knows here, we are quite well equipped, and my basis is more in analytics. So we know how to perform stability studies and how to stabilize the drug. And in 3D printing, it's not so difficult to stabilize the drug. In fact, even more if you go for semi-solid extrusion, because the temperature to print is quite low. So you don't have any trouble for stability. I hope to have answered to your question, but the needs also for personalized medicine is very, very huge. When your physicians will know that you can adapt doses, or you can combine some different drugs inside one caps or inside one chewable tablets, you will have a lot of needs.
Thank you, Maxime. Celia, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think Maxime has explained it perfectly. I don't have anything to add.
No problem. Thank you.
I mean, in the pharmacies, it's difficult to study the stability, but when this process gets familiar and the pharma is commercialized, it will be previously studied. You just need to put the ink in the machine, and the stabilization test will be already done by the pharmacy industry.
And to add to that as well, companies like FABRX can help with stability studies and different experiments like that. And we do have some collaborations who actually work with universities to both develop their pharma formulations, but also to carry out those experiments like stability. So some pharmacies do have those really useful partnerships. So this is probably going to be our last question now, and it's aimed at Alvaro. So semi-solid extrusion, 3D printing, do you see that as the future for clinical use? And what are your thoughts for the other technologies available?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think semi-solid extrusion is the best one, and is the one that we were basically discussing in these presentations today with Maxime and Celia. Semi-solid extrusion has the advantages of having the drug enclosed in cartridges that are disposed. So you can have the pharma ink in a kind of syringe, put it in the printer, remove the cartridge, and put a different one because the drug is not in touch with the printer, it's just in touch with the cartridge. So that makes the problems of cross-contamination minimum. So you just clean the bill plate or the capsule holder or the blister holder, and it's not necessary to clean other things. There are other technologies that are actually included in the 3D printer that FABRX provide to both Maxime and Celia. One is FDM, fused deposition modeling. In this technology, the pharma ink is a filament. I like that technology. The problem is that making filaments in a pharmacy or in a hospital is complex, takes time. You need a hot melt extruder for that, and it's not easy. So in the future, if a pharmaceutical company like FABRX, well, FABRX is not a big pharma company, but I don't know, Pfizer or AstraZeneca, they develop these filaments, this could be implemented in the pharmacy. Then additionally, there is another technology that is direct powder extrusion, that the starting material is a powder. That could be implemented in a pharmacy. Yeah, potentially, because it's just mixing a powder that is a mixture of drug and excipients. The problem is cleaning that extruder, the DPE, direct powder extruder, because you need to dismount completely, clean it with water, and the protocol for cleaning is not so straightforward like the one with the cartridges, that is just remove the cartridge, put a new one. So for pharmacies, probably it's semi-solid extrusion, and Maxime, you can add on that. But maybe for research projects, for medical devices with drugs, and for studying how the drug is incorporated in different polymers, we can use the other two methods. But for pharmacies and hospitals, Maxime?
Yeah, today, as Alvaro said, even if FDM is a very, very promising and the more precise one, there is two difficulties when you go for FDM. Your final product is quite hard, in fact. So for your patients, the texture is not good, and it's one of the trouble that you could suffer. The other one is that you need some space to install. You need a very, very good extruder if you want to make some filament for the drugs. You cannot take a small extruder for make this part from the hot melt extruder. We try it. It's a very huge mess. So you need to have something which is very, very robust. And the price is quite high, but even if the price is not a huge problem, you need some space, very huge space. You have also the trouble to have some drugs which are not stable, but for that, and you need to have some people which are trained. And also it needs to have some, it consumes more material, more raw ingredient than semi-solid extrusion. So if you, as I do, I work now on some drugs which are quite expensive, and to go for FDM, the price will be quite around 2 or 3 times more than we do from semi-solid extrusion. So today it's not ready, but there is some tool which can play. We will try some of them to improve it.
Thank you.
And DPE, maybe in 5 or 10 years, if it has increased some things, but I have hope for this one.
Thank you very much. So just one last quick question is for Alvaro, and please could you tell us more about the Pharma 3D PI?
Yeah, so the Pharma 3D PI, as we mentioned before, is an international consortium. Everybody can join. It's something that we started in 2024. We want to make, people come together. We want to make materials to educate people, training courses, just explain how this could work. We have people from hospitals, from industry, from pharmacies, from academia, from regulatory authorities. We are going to make some webinars soon, so I would recommend you to go in the next weeks to the Pharma 3D PI. It's Pharmaceutical 3D Printing Initiative. And we are going to have a webinar, I think, in the coming months about a specific regulation. We will have a webinar only about a specific hospital implementation. I think it's going to be very interesting to see other people using the technology. And I would recommend you to join, because what we want, obviously, is to help patients and to reach patients and move 3D printing forward. This is not, obviously, FABRX is a company, but we are not money driven. We want to reach patients and improve lives of these patients, thanks to people like Maxime, like Celia as well. So this is the aim of the Pharma 3D PI.
Thank you, Alvaro. So unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. So thank you very much for attending. If you have any more questions, please do reach out. And we've got our email address and our social media platforms up on the screen here. And actually the Pharma 3D PI website is listed there as well. So if you're interested in finding more or want to join, please do check out their website and get in contact. So thank you very much and goodbye.